Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a great day so far and welcome to today's video, which is going to be my February roundup where I share all of my thoughts on everything new that I tried throughout the month of February, the faves, the fails and everything in between. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so I always say to you guys that I will only share things like clothing or accessories if they are really worth me telling you about, and I have two clothing items to talk to you about this month. First of all, these Free People jeans, I didn't bring them down because I feel like an idiot holding close up that you can't see in frame anyway, so I'll insert the picture of them instead, as that's far more useful than me going like this. These jeans have changed my life, okay? They are so comfortable and flattering. They feel like joggers, but they are in fact jeans. They're so comfy and just the perfect shape. They're more sort of narrow on like the waist and your tummy, so it's really flattering in that area, but then the legs are baggy and just the whole shape makes you look longer. They're more elegant. I purchased these in the black shade first because I thought that they would look more like trousers, a smarter trouser than jeans, and they really do. They look beautiful. You can really dress them up. They also feel perfect like every day. If I'm working, I'm in the house all day, sitting down, they're like wearing joggers, but I can also go on the school run and look like I've just come from the office and be smart and put together. They are a dream, perfect in every way. So comfy, look smart, but feel like joggers. The other clothing item I wanted to put you onto is this Chantelle bralette. We went away for a few days in the half-term holidays and I purchased this bra, and I don't know if this is just me, I hate spending money on bras because I don't love bras. I hate them. In fact, I usually pretty much 90% of the time wear bralettes or bramies as opposed to a more traditional bra these days. I just hate them. But I am boobily challenged, or boobily breast or boobily blessed is the correct term, depending on how you look at it. So I do kind of like some kind of support, but I just hate the feel of bras, underwire, all of that stuff. So I wear a lot of bralettes and I hate spending money on them. I'll just buy the cheapest ones I can find because they're not exciting and no one really sees them. Who cares? So yeah, I hate spending money on them. It feels unnecessary. But they have been annoying me recently that none of them are quite as comfortable as I want them to be. And I've heard really good things. I think it was Molly May who mentioned this brand, and so I decided to give this one a try. I know it's not crazy expensive. I think it was 40-ish pounds, but it is more than a lot of like bralettes that you can get from like ASOS or Free People. So I went for it, and let me tell you, this is game changing. I've already bought another one, okay? They are so comfortable. It literally feels like I don't have one on. I can't feel it at all, and yet it's quite supportive. It's soft, really literally so thin, but really stretchy, really comfy, adjustable straps, which a lot of bralettes, that's the one thing I don't love about them. A lot of bralettes don't have adjustable straps, or they're just not very good and they get twisted. It's the best bralette I've ever tried in my life. I'm never going back, okay? If you like a bralette or you just hate bras, try these ones. I have like really few products to talk about this month. I guess February is a smaller month. My son's birthday in February and we have half term. So I was away a little bit here and there. So maybe I just didn't have as much time to pick up new products. But one thing I want to talk about is this waver from GHD. Another thing I sort of really ummed and ahed about for a long time, because again, I don't love spending money on hair products because I just don't really do my hair that often. If I do, like fresh out of the shower, you know, I love my Dyson Airwrap. My hair naturally is flat as a pancake and straight as a pin. It's the most boring, lifeless hair you've ever seen, unless I do like overnight curls. I'm a big fan of the pineapple bun to sleep in, and that gives me a little bit of shape, but naturally my hair is flat and straight. And the Dyson Airwrap gives me body and shape of dreams, but only if I've washed my hair and then I use it to dry. It doesn't work very well on just dry hair. So I've been wanting to get a tool that will kind of do what the Dyson does for me, give me a little bit of body and just a little bit of life, not really curls, but just a bit of shape, or like a bend, if that makes sense. So I decided to try this one, even though I was quite hesitant because it's a clamping one. I've never got on well with those. I can never use them at all, but I especially can't use them without leaving, you know, a mark where the clamp has been. I just can never do that. I'm really not good with hair tools, but I decided to give that one a go because it had good reviews. I think I saw Jamie Genevieve using it and I love how her hair looks. So I decided to give it a go and it is perfect. I didn't really section my hair today when I used it, just for 5 minutes, because I just wanted to show you sort of what it does. And all I did was literally, I did 2 sections on this side, so like half my hair, and on each side 4 passes basically of the Tong, and I literally held it on my hair for about 10 seconds, if that, really in a rush, just to give me some kind of life and shape. And it does exactly that. If I section my hair out and give it more of a curl, it can do a bit more of a wave than what I've done today, but it is so perfect if you just want a little bit of body quite quickly and easily. It never leaves a mark where the clamp goes, and it's so easy to use. I absolutely love it. Next up, I want to talk to you about this perfume in the most stunning bottle I have ever seen. Just look at that. Is that not the most gorgeous perfume bottle you ever saw in all of your days? I know it's mine. So this is Xerjoff's Elle Anniversary, and it is an ode to Xerjoff's first ever fragrance, Elle. It's like celebrating Elle's anniversary and the birth, I guess, of Xerjoff as a fragrance house. I have never tried the original Elle. I'm not going to lie to you, okay? The biggest reason I wanted this was for the bottle. The fragrance notes list doesn't really sound like it would be for me. It's a sort of fruity, floral, ambery concoction, which isn't my typical go-to type of fragrance. But I saw the bottle and thought, how bad could it possibly smell that it wouldn't be worth owning this stunning visual decoration? And reading the notes, it has lychee in the top, which is one of my all-time favorite notes. And I thought, if you're going to have, you know, a fruity fragrance, you couldn't really beat that as a note that I would choose to have in a fruitier fragrance. And oh my goodness, this is so beautiful. It isn't really my typical type of more warm, spicy kind of fragrance that I typically lean towards, but it's perfect for spring and summer. A lot of the fragrances I love are a bit too heavy, too warm, too evening or wintry to wear in spring and summer without them becoming a bit sickly and a bit sweet and a bit overpowering. This is like the perfect daytime spring summer scent. So summery, so fresh and juicy. And you know, I've said before, I don't really want to buy new fragrances these days unless they're a little different to something that I already own. So I don't want to keep buying the same fragrance over and over again. I want only things that are sort of different to what I already have in my collection. And this is absolutely that. It's so pretty and girly and feminine, but juicy, and it's got a little bit of an ambery, musky, slightly woodsy dry down as well that just kind of takes the edge off it being too light and airy and fluffy. The lychee and the apple in the opening is stunning. It's beautiful, probably like my favorite ever, more summer friendly scent. And if I wasn't so scared of breaking this bottle, because this is also a limited edition, it would be coming everywhere I travel with me. I'm too scared. I'm going to have to get an atomizer for it to take with me when I'm on holiday, because this is the perfect holiday scent without it having to smell of sunscreen or coconut. It still manages to be tropical and fruity and summery and holiday perfect without it smelling of sunscreen, which so many of those perfumes do. Now onto the makeup. I decided not to talk about the Lisa Eldridge concealers in last month's roundup, January's roundup, because I just hadn't really tried them enough since the review to really add anything new. So I wanted to give myself a bit longer with them to try them a bit more, and they are so good. They're so clever. I just love how innovative and original Lisa's launches always are, and so on brand for her, how she does makeup as well. You know, she's been doing that pinpoint concealing technique for years and years, and now she's developed her perfect product that lends itself to that. And you know, I said in my review, I'm not someone who gets a lot of breakouts or suffers with spots or anything that I need to spot conceal on a regular basis. Luckily, I know that sounds like I'm boasting, but I just want to explain why this isn't a product that I'm typically going to use very often. But a couple of times over the last couple of months since these were released, I have had a little blemish or a little spot or a little something that I just want to scribble and disappear, and I don't want to do a full face of makeup. I'm just going on the school run, I'm just doing something, but I'd like to, you know, cover a couple of blemishes here and there, and these are so perfect. They need the tiniest amount, literally a little scribble and a tap of the edges, and it's invisible and that blemish is gone. It's bulletproof as well. It will get through anything. You know, when I swatched these when they first arrived, it was hard to remove them. So it is going to last, you know, probably you could go swimming with these on and it would still be there at the end of your swimming session, which is ideal if you're just wanting to give yourself a bit more skin confidence, if you're suffering with breakouts or something like that, and look and feel like you're still very natural and you're still showing your skin and you're still, you know, not wearing a full face of makeup to cover everything. You're just giving yourself a bit of a cheat that isn't going to wear off or like wash away throughout the day. They're so clever and so effective that even though they're not a product that I would need to use very often, when I do, I'm very happy to have them. Next up, let's talk about these Westman Atelier bronzing drops. So these are Suntone bronzing drops. I have the shade 3. I did review these when I first got them, so you can check that out if you want to see them in action. I like these. I think they perform really, really beautifully and they do exactly what you would want them to do. I also find them for a liquid really easy to use. I'll do a few dots on the back of my hand as I did in my review, stipple on with the brush, and then they're very natural and seamless on the skin. I do like a bit of glow to my bronzers, which these don't have. They are very matte, so that's not my personal preference, and also the formula is just not my personal preference. Although I do find the liquid, I can work with it with no problems as far as liquids go. I prefer a powder. It's just easier, or even a cream stick where you can just whack it on. You know, you've got to make sure you really shake these well, put a couple of drops on the back of your hand, which can start running everywhere, and then your hand is covered in bronzer by the end of the process, which is not something I enjoy. I just don't love makeup being all over my hands. I've said this to you before, I could never be one of those people who like applies foundation with their hands. That's my nightmare. Okay, so I don't love that I have to do that to use these, so they're just not going to be a product I use very often. I just realised again, I'm matching the bottle. I love to see it. So it's very much pros and cons. I think if you like this type of product, it's going to be quite travel friendly because you don't have to worry about it smashing or shattering. So that's a bonus for it, as is the small, compact, travel friendly like shape of the packaging, but you still get a full fluid ounce in here that is going to last you a very long time. Yes, just using a few drops at a time, but it's just not, for me personally, a product that I'm going to use a lot. I'd much rather a powder bronzer whacked all over with no thought and nothing on my hands, you know. But I will say they do last very well as well on the skin, and they're very pretty and very natural. They're just not for me, if that makes sense. Next up, this little number from Hourglass that was new here in the UK. This month it has been available before in the US, but not here. So this is the Luminous edit from Hourglass, featuring a blush and ambient lighting powder and a highlighter. Again, I have reviewed this on its own, so if you want to see it in action and all of that, along with a lot of comparisons to other Hourglass shades, check my review out. There she is, lightly swatched on my hand. Very soft and subtle. I am loving this little palette. It's so pretty. Obviously it doesn't really compete with their 6 pans because it doesn't have a bronzer and it's only one blush shade, but I've been using this as just as a blush. I will literally mix all 3 shades together, which I did show in my review, and it gives me the perfect rose glowing blush. I just get my brush and apply it like that, and I build it up a little, and it gives me that gorgeous, stunning, really glowy, diffused, natural soft rose blush. It's gorgeous, and that's how I've been loving to use this. I'm using it quite a lot in that way. You have a strobe powder in here, and then the blush, which is an ambient lighting blush. Hourglass discontinued their strobe blushes, which still to this day cuts like a knife. But basically this is giving you a strobe blush because you've got the ambient lighting blush and the strobe powder to mix together, and it's just so pretty and diffused but glowy and gleaming. I've been loving this. Speaking of glowy and gleaming, I picked up 2 shades of these new Dior highlighters this month, the Pink Halo shade and the Pink Strobe shade. So if you don't know, Dior sort of reformulated and relaunched their permanent highlighter line, and you have, I think, a choice of 3 different formulas. So there's one that's like a holographic sort of shifting formula, there's a more subtle formula and a more beaming formula. So the Pink Strobe is one of those shifting shades. It's sort of like a pink to gold shift. It really reminds me of Pat McGrath's Divine Rose highlighter that, as you know, was one of my all-time favorites for a very long time. And then I picked up Pink Halo, which is a softer, smoother, more natural highlight. So Pink Halo at the bottom, Pink Strobe at the top. Gorgeous. I did worry that Pink Halo would be too dark for me to use as a highlighter in the winter, but it's not. I can use this alone and it is perfect for my skin tone. I also worried looking at it in the pan that it would be too pink for me, but I actually really like, I know I say all the time, I'm rude to pink as a colour. I victimize it daily saying how much I don't like pink makeup. I like the colour maybe with clothing and things like that, but not lipstick, blush or eyeshadow generally. But highlighter, I quite like a sort of pink shift in my highlight. Obviously not too much so it looks like blush, but if it's a subtle one like the Gucci Opal Pink and like the Pat McGrath Divine Rose, this doesn't look like it's going to be subtle. It looks very pink in certain angles, but on the cheek it really just melts into my skin tone, and it's just a really subtle shift of pink, and it's so pretty. It gives you that wet look without looking like I'm looking so close and I can't see any glitter or sparkle or shimmer. It just looks shiny, and that's, you know, a heavy swatch. When you blend this and diffuse it, it's so smooth and glowy without being shimmery or sparkly, without enhancing texture. And even more so, the Halo shade is so subtle. That's what I'm wearing today, this highlighter, and it's so subtle and just luminous and pretty and understated. The Pink Halo is slightly too light for me. I'm thinking about getting the nude Halo shade because the formula is glorious. I don't love this packaging. I think when we first saw these, they showed them along with the new cushion foundation case, and I thought we were going to get different colour fronts depending on the shade that you picked, but they're all the silver. I don't like this. I wish it was sort of, I don't know, different shades, but the silver looks a little loud, a little garish perhaps, dare I say. But the formulas themselves are delightful and gorgeous. If you have a fair skin tone, then the Pink Strobe will probably give you a bit of a blush as well, you lucky thing. I also picked up 2 new shades of my treasured precious Dior Addict formula. They launched a whole bunch of shades, so I want you to appreciate quite how restrained I was that I only picked up 2. I think it was the Nudes and Roses or something the collection was called, so everything is nudes and roses, you know? So only picking up 2 shades, I thought fair play to me. But I will say, I think a lot of the shades, given I have such a large collection of Dior Addicts, a lot of them were quite close to shades I already owned. Not that these 2 weren't as well, but you know, I'm only human. So we have Dioract and Dior Rodeo. I'm wearing Dioract today, and I think this is my favourite, like, nude everyday shade that I own in this formula. It's just the perfect, it's not too deep, it's not too light for me, I don't have to wear a liner, it's not too much, it's literally perfect, a bit caramelly. Stunning. And then Dior Rodeo is a little bit cooler, I would say. Dioract is warmer, Dior Rodeo is a little cooler, although they are quite similar. So, you know, you probably don't need both. You could just pick whether you would like the warmer or the cooler of the 2. But I continue to have my love affair with Dior Addicts, and I don't know if I'll ever stop buying them. I may well go back for more of those shades once I've seen swatches. Next up, I picked up 2 of the Haus Labs cream blush sticks. This was after seeing the Lipstick Lesbians on Instagram talking about these and how glorious they are. I didn't even know these existed before I saw Alexis talking about them. And then I found out they were called the Glassy blush balms. I don't love the word balm, but Glassy, right up my street. So I got 2 shades, Glassy Hibiscus, which is a sort of mauvey shade, and Glassy Pomelo, which is a sort of corally shade, a little pinker than I was hoping. Okay, I thought it would be a bit more coral, and it is a little pinker than I love my blush to be, but I can get away with it because it is that coral leaning as opposed to that Barbie pink, which I really don't like. And as you can see, these are super glassy, really easy to use. I will just take my brush and brush it over the top of the product and then stamp it on. Very inoffensive, very easy to build. They start off, you know, quite light and subtle, and they can build really easily. And this shade in particular, Hibiscus, it's just the perfect everyday sort of mauve, but a little neutral as well shade, will go with anything. So pretty, glassy. I will say I do prefer the Natasha cream blush duos to those. They're just glowier, and I find them a bit easier to use than the sticks. And also I don't love this packaging. It feels very light, which isn't my favorite thing. I wish it felt a bit more substantial, but a really nice glossy finish to them and super pretty shades. So lots of pros to like a slight packaging con. Not a con, like a pro and con, not like they're conning us, you understand. Next up, I picked up one of the new Fenty Gloss Bomb Gloss Bomb Sticks Shimmer. What? Shimmer gloss sticks, that's what I've decided they're called now. So revenge, karma. So I picked up See You in Maui. I talked about these in my Will I Buy It and how I was planning on skipping them because they looked so glittery. I wasn't sure they would be for me. And then I saw swatches and I thought, go on then, I'll try this one shade. And I do think this one shade, See You in Maui, is like the special one of the range. I think several of the shades just look very samey, not quite so like stunning as this one. I think this is the shade that really is a standout of those on offer. I actually went back once I tried this and thought I might get another shade, but there were no other shades that really wowed me quite like this one. So I have just stuck to this. Now I will say I was not wrong. It is very glittery and sparkly. There's a lot of sparkle in there to be seen. There's no getting past that, okay? But you don't feel it at all on the lips. They feel like the regular Gloss Bomb sticks, if you're familiar with those, like a really glossy, balmy type formula. They don't feel gritty or rough at all. Even when you're applying it somehow, it feels very smooth. Now, it does look shimmery on the lips as well. It's not one of these formulas that it has shimmer in it, but it actually translates as just sheen or glow on the lips. These look shimmery on the lips. But this specific shade in summer It's just holiday perfect. I'm going to be taking this with me on every holiday I go on for the foreseeable future. It's just perfect for holiday. Yes, it's very sparkly and shimmery, and it wouldn't necessarily be something I would wear like day to day, but on holiday in the summer when the sun's out, gloriously delightful and a lot of fun. But you can see where I've wiped that off. My hand is just covered in glitter. So, you know, it's really going to be personal preference as to whether that's going to be something that bothers you or not. I think with more like nudes and everyday shades, I'd prefer like something like the Addicts that are just glowy and shiny as opposed to sparkling and shimmery. It's just a bit more understated for what I prefer. But in the holidays, in the summer, while you're away, I think it's going to be glorious. Speaking of lipsticks, I was sent a load of new products to try from Space NK this month, which was such a surprise because I can't remember. I think I've only ever had one package from Space NK before, and it was quite a long time ago. So it was such a nice surprise to open this box I didn't know was coming and was full of their new products, and one of which was these By Terry lipsticks, which I was really excited to see because I decided to pass on these. So I was quite excited to see it in there that I got to try it anyway. Obviously, the fates decided I am trying it. So I think the packaging of these, it looks beautiful. Really pretty, it looks very luxurious, that gold 3D texture there, metal, really pretty to look at. Has a magnetic closure, there it is, but they're very light. These are refillable and everything just feels very light. I know we've been spoiled with Lisa Eldridge's Rouge Experience lipsticks. They are just in a complete other planet to these. They weigh 10 times more. They feel a lot more substantial. And my feeling with these, taking, you know, the refill out, putting it back in, they're so light and the click is very soft. To me, it really feels like they're not going to hold up over time. I feel like if you were to purchase the component and use a lot of the refills and put them in and out, it doesn't fill me with confidence it's going to hold up to that because it's so lightweight, which is a slight shame. But the formula inside, it looks almost suede like, and it is very pigmented. Let me show you one swipe of color. Very pigmented, creamy. So I think this is described as a matte, but it's a very luminous matte. There's got a lot of luminosity in the matte finish, if that makes sense. They glide on beautifully and they feel really creamy and not very drying at all for a matte formula. So this is the shade 8, by the way, Mon Rouge, a very classic, gorgeous, blue toned red. So a really nice formula, actually, incredibly pigmented, not super drying for a matte because it does have a lot of creaminess to it. The component looks really beautiful, but it doesn't feel very luxurious because of that lighter weight to it. But all in all, a really nice formula. And I was really pleased to get to try it, even though I had decided it wasn't going to make it into my review budget this month, but really, really nice formula. I wish the packaging felt a bit sturdier. Speaking of packaging, probably the most controversial packaging discussion I have seen in some while, these Charlotte Tilbury eyeshadow palettes. My goodness. People were furious about these. I'm wearing the Emerald Effect today. You didn't notice the little millennial pause there. Covered it very, very well. And I have been using these non-stop since they arrived, and really nothing has changed since my initial review. I'm not going to mention the packaging again. I've said everything I have to say about it, and I think people either understand it, and a lot of people actually enjoy it and it really works for them and their needs and their preferences. Obviously a lot of people hate it. That's just down to personal preference. If you want to hear all of my thoughts on the packaging and these palettes in general, I do have a review up much more in depth with each of these palettes in use if you want to check that out. I have been using them continuously for the last few weeks since they arrived. I've really not used anything else on my eyes for quite a while. I'm still loving them. They're just quick, easy, effective palettes to work with. Each one has, you know, a real sort of staple colour story to it. You've got the blue, a green, a pinks, a warm, a neutral, and a purple, I think. So, you know, there's something kind of for everybody depending on which colour story you like, and it does that thing very well. I have also been mixing and matching between these a little bit, which I've been enjoying. They're super fun. They take up so little room, which for me, I love, because I've got 3 new eyeshadow palettes, which if these were full-size Motherships or Natasha Denona palettes, I'd be having a storage issue and moving things around. These just slip straight into a drawer, which is ideal and perfect for travel. I feel like this is all I'll take with me when I go on my holidays. So I really like them. I think the formulas are fantastic. They have some really standout shades in here as well. I love this shade in the green on the bottom. This is pretty much most of what is on my lids today. It's just the prettiest like aqua marine shade with a gorgeous sort of shift to it. Really, really pretty. And in the blue, oh, this shade here at the top is stunning. There's some really nice formulas in here, some shifting shadows, really gorgeous shimmers, some a bit like these two are both a sheerer with a shift type of shimmer, and then you've got a more classic shimmer formula in there with a lot more pigmentation to it. So there's lots of variation in here as far as mattes and satins and shimmers and toppers. You really do get a lot of variation for a smaller size, which I really appreciate. These are a win from me. You guys know I love Charlotte Tilbury's eyeshadow formulas, and I think these are among her best ever. I feel like I prefer the matte formula from the Beautyverse palette. I think that was her best ever matte formula, but the shimmers in here are stunning. And I've had a lot of fun with them and will continue to do so. And now finally, my new Holy Grail concealer, the Estee Lauder Double Wear Stay in Place Concealer. I flipping love this concealer. It has so much coverage, but it literally feels like nothing. Even after you've set it, it feels like you've got nothing under your eyes. It's the lightest weight concealer I ever remember using. I love the doe foot. They've made such an improvement from the previous concealer from Estee Lauder that I tried, which was the worst doe foot. I hated it. It was so hard and inflexible and the shape was wrong. This is like the best doe foot I've ever used. One side, it's really gentle but large and deposits a lot of color in a large amount of surface quickly, and then you've got a really crisp, precise edge as well, and it just works beautifully. It's creamy, it melts into the skin, it wears incredibly well, it doesn't crease on me. It is perfect, and I really like the shade that I got as well. I typically buy more neutral undertones for my concealer, but I feel like 2W in this concealer isn't really warm, which is what I don't really like under my eyes. That can look a little off for me. This is a sort of a more neutral leaning warm shade, I would say. I love that we get 12 mils of product, really generous. I think that's double what was in my Haus Labs concealer, and kind of your classic concealer smaller tube size is typically 6 mils. So that's a lot of concealer for your money. The component is beautiful. I think it's the most beautiful component I've ever seen in a concealer. So all around, a new Holy Grail for 2025. Delightful. And again, I have already reviewed this on my channel, so if you want to see it in action and hear more in-depth thoughts about it, then check out my review. But nothing has changed. In fact, I think I love it even more each time I try it. But there you have it. That is everything new that I tried in the month of February. A really small amount of products, but some mighty ones at the same time. Please let me know if you've tried any of these products and how you got along. What was something that you loved in February? New or an oldie but a goodie? Let us know something you loved in February, and let us know something you hated if you had a fail in February as well. Tell us what to steer clear of, we beg you. But thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, and I would love to see you in the next one. Otherwise, take care for now. Bye 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 bye.